let me say a special good morning to my viewers and listeners this morning. Welcome to another edition of To The Point. Today being Wednesday, the 2nd day of August, 2023. Let me say good morning to my listeners, especially those of you via Classic Radio, what is 105.5 or 105.9. Good morning. Those of you viewing GBN TV, whether it's Channel 7, Channel 11, or Channels 20, good morning. Our social media audience, also good morning. If I haven't been shutting you out enough for the last 2 days, I understand. But let me say good morning to you, especially those of you via the Facebook page and the YouTube channel, or channels, I should say. Good morning to you. Welcome to another edition of To The Point. This morning, it's on Wednesdays here on To The Point. We do entertain various departments within the government. And this morning, we do have with me this morning, of course, MP, Mr. Joseph Andel. He's the representative for the parliamentary representative for St. Patrick's West. Let's go over and say good morning to Mr. Joseph. Good morning to you, MP. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, GT.
How you doing? How you doing this morning?
Thanks. Good morning to all of your listeners and viewers, and probably good afternoon too, based on, I guess you have a global audience, so in certain time zones it will probably be afternoon now, so hello to everyone.
All right. Usually, let me say welcome once again. I think it's actually the first time I'm having an interview with you in general.
Yes, yes it is.
So nice meeting you, and nice having you on the program this morning. I usually ask to, when someone pops in, just give me a general and, of course, opening statement, any opening statement you want to throw out this morning before we get deep into the conversation, I could say.
Well, we're at the heart of the carnival season. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to throw water on the mood, but I think I have a responsibility to send out an appeal to everyone, particularly our young people, our young men, to recognize that this is a time for celebration, for enjoyment. And so let us, in the midst of all of the activities, the celebration, the shows, and so on, let us keep a sober head and a sober mind. Let us leave thoughts of violence behind us. If you're going to party, all you need is a partner or two to hang out with. Mm. You don't need a knife. You don't need a gun. You don't need any type of weapon. And once we go out with that mindset of just enjoying ourselves, then we'll all be good. So this is just my call to everyone.
Certainly, I'm in agreement with you with that 100%. Let's kick off the conversation this morning. It's been 1 year, of course, since the National Democratic Congress got into power, being the government that's running the things in Grenada right now. You, 1 year seat in the St. Patrick's West. How has it been for you? How has things been for you? You being, of course, the Minister in terms of Foreign Affairs and so forth. How has things been for you in the past year so far?
Well, it's been a mixed bag. At the constituency level, given the fact that my portfolio requires that I travel frequently out of the country, mm-hmm. that has affected my visibility to an extent. And sometimes people come up to you and they would say, boy, I know you're traveling a lot, but, and I say to them, if you were in the position, you'd probably sing a different tune. But we are making efforts to rectify that. We have a community liaison officer mm-hmm. who goes around to the different communities, interviewing people, looking at conditions in the different villages and so on, and reporting to me so that action can be taken where necessary and where possible. We also have a functioning MP's office in Lowtown, Sauters. It's located at the Plaza de Sauters building. Yeah. And it's staffed with a research officer, office attendant, messenger, and an office manager. So even on the days when I'm not physically present at the office, there's always somebody there Monday to Friday during work hours that you can go to and lay your concerns, make your suggestions, and so on. And so the way I operate is that once I'm on island on Thursday morning, 8 to midday, or sometimes a little longer than that, depending on the number of people who would like to see me, I'm at the office. And in the afternoon, I would go out into a different community with a small team, talking with people, listening to the concerns, and seeing what we can do to alleviate some of the issues that they face.
All right.
Yeah.
Another question I'd like to ask is, and it leads to what you were saying in terms of you not being an island and so forth. I always seem to want to ask the ministers in terms, folks would say it's just a year. Let's talk about some of the achievements that you may have accomplished in St. Patrick's. We understand you said you've been out, but I'm sure there's someone who looks after things in your absence.
Yep.
You understand? Let's talk about some of the achievements, especially in St. Patrick's West. In fact, let's say the top 5 achievements, especially in the constituency of St. Patrick's West.
Okay, good. So I believe that in spite of the talk you may be hearing in some quarters that I have been reasonably on the ground and visible in the constituency. We've had a very good town hall meeting in Sautez. We had another one at Hermitage, and numerous informal engagements in all of the different polling divisions. We've started to consult with stakeholders, business people, the bus operators, and so on, to see how we can bring better and more efficient services to the people of St. Patrick West. By way of things that people can see, we have been able to kickstart cricket and football in the primary schools in our parish, as well as the Samaritan Presbyterian School, by securing cricket and football uniforms and other gear and equipment for them. We have been able to secure computers to get an IT lab/homework center going in Hermitage. We are just awaiting the retrofitting of the room at the resource center and the clearing of the particular room, because the center in Hermitage is located on the compound of the school, and they have been using it as a classroom. So once we get those things sorted out, the computers are already physically in our possession. We're also in the process of, we are just awaiting the completion of the building to house a new IT and resource center in Shantimel. We have started the project of lighting up the community of Darby/Mount Alexander. Darby has one of the most beautiful beaches and one of the best, which is one of the best kept secrets in Grenada.
Right.
And it's becoming more and more popular, particularly around the Easter time and on other festive occasions. But the problem is access in terms of the road. Once it's dry, the road is reasonably good, but that is something of a medium to long-term project to ensure that there is a proper paved road leading down to the beach. But the more immediate issue is the lack of lights.
All right.
So we have already started working with Grand Lake. A number of lights have been installed along the road. And currently we have a project in train that within the next few weeks, we are hopeful that the entire beach area will be properly lit so that people can feel safe to access that area at night.
All right.
Yep. Road repairs are going reasonably well. Again, in the same prospect to Darby area. The paving that had begun before we got into office, we have continued with that.
All right.
And some of the more dangerous and, quite frankly, terrible areas, we are now addressing that. For example, the area around the Almost Paradise guest house. Yep, we have done some repaving there. But as medium to long term, the entire road from the Duquesne Bridge on the border with St. Mark all the way back to the bus terminal in Sautez, that of necessity has to be redone.
All
yep.
Right.
Another challenging area for us is the breakwater and the fallout from the breakwater. I'm not in a position to say that work will begin on X, Y, or Z.
Because I do have a question relating, particularly the update on the breakwater project. I really would like to know how that has been.
That is something that we are actively working on, trying to find solutions to it. And there is one area in particular called the malaria drain in the Mount Rodney area that is of major concern to residents and to me as MP and the government as a whole. So we are working to make sure that when we finally push onto that problem, it is one that will be lasting and one that will not create more problems. So that is one of the reasons that we are hastening a bit slowly. You don't want to rush into a massive project like that with all kinds of environmental and social implications without doing all of the necessary background work and planning and so on.
All right. You talk about some of the accomplishment, but you mentioned something that a question that I maybe should get into as our mindset is on that particular level right now. There's been some discussion about the removal of sand in the Mulroney Beach area. I'm sure as MP you've been hearing about that. What is the situation in terms of that at the moment with that? And know, is there any truth to that talk? They have been hearing that several trucks removing sand from the beach and all of that. What is the whole issue with that?
So it's some questions they have a yes and no answer to them. This is one of the questions.
So yes or no to it?
Yes and no. There is not actual sand mining from the beach as maliciously reported in some quarters.
Okay.
There is a very long drain going all the way back past for playing field, and it's called the malaria drain. I imagine that drain was built to counter whatever bad effects from some malaria outbreak many decades ago.
Okay.
All right. It's in an area called the Esplanade.
All right.
Now, that drain traditionally fills up with sand, but since the erection of the breakwater, the filling up process takes a lot less time than previously. So once the drain gets blocked up, the water going back towards the Sotese end backs up. There is no outlet for the water.
All right.
Then it breeds mosquitoes, it creates a stench, and it's a real hazard. Moreover, it leads to flooding in the yards of some people who live on the other side of the road from the bus terminal. So it has a lot of negative impacts. So in previous years, my understanding is that somebody had a contract to manually remove the sand.
Okay.
But over the past couple of years, it appears either that person is not honoring the contract or the contract has not been renewed. I've been trying for the longest while to get to the bottom of it, if that contract still exists, and if so, with whom. So the road office in Sotese works with the Ministry of Community Development from time to time to get equipment, mechanical equipment, to unblock the drain.
All right.
If they put it back on the beach, the waves, particularly since the breakwater, the waves wash it right back into the drain and undoes the work. All right. So a temporary solution has been to periodically remove the sand that is blocking the drain and use it for construction of houses, low-income houses, and community projects, and so on. So that is why I told you
there's a yes and a no. So instead of just manually removing it, put it back on the beach, you get it trucked out and goes to use for construction purposes.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah. But we do not, as a policy, we do not support or promote sand mining. So this is just a temporary fix for a problem that we need to address in the short term, so that the people who live in that area can have a little peace from mosquitoes and mosquito-borne diseases, and from the stench and the general unsanitary conditions provoked by the buildup of stagnant water in that drain.
Well, I guess your answer has certainly cleared that up, because we've been hearing those companies talk to you, so you want to know on the depth. And if you being the minister, I think you ideally is a perfect person to answer this question and clear the air on that in general. We due for a break, Minister. Let's take it. When we come back, we discuss some more folks. It's to the point for today, Wednesday, the 2nd day of August. I'm here. Uncle Joseph with us this morning. There's Joseph Andel. Seems to put the surname before the name for some reason.
That happens sometimes.
Anyway, we coming right back after the break, folks. Stay with us.
This country so beautiful and peaceful. Let's keep it that way. Violence has no place in our society. For this carnival, let's keep it violence free, because retirement age is 65. I want you to be alive so you could enjoy your retirement like me.
The NLA is giving you more chances to multiply your Playway winnings by adding Multi-X to your regular Playway bets to win up to 5 times more. Imagine winning as much as $1,200 instead of $240 with a $10 Playway bet by simply adding Multi-X. Place your Playway bets from $1 to $10 or in increments on your favorite Playway symbols or numbers. Then add the Multi-X option at the same value to win 2 times, 3 times, 5 times more, or free plays. With Multi-X, you must bet the same amount wagered on your regular Playway bets for your winnings to be multiplied. Grenadians, value your dreams and win your way as much as 5 times more with Multi-X added to Playway and watch your money grow. Must be 18 years or older to play. NLA, making your dreams come true.
The biggest party in sport is back. CPL and WCPL return with more action than ever before.
Are you kidding me?
Watch the biggest names in cricket battle it out in the race for glory.
Brilliantly, celebrate some more.
Get your tickets now at cplt20.com or at the box office. Join the party. Experience cricket played louder.
Grenada's broadcast of Republic Bank CPL 2023 is made possible by Republic Bank. We're the one for you. The National Lotteries Authority, Grenlec, and Hard On Plus.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers. It's to the point for today. It's Wednesday, the 2nd day of August. With me this morning, we have MP Joseph Andal with me this morning, and he's the MP, of course, representing St. Patrick's West. He's also the Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs. So next segment of questioning, Minister, welcome back to the point this morning. I want to deal with your ministry in particular, and we still will come back to get more information about, of course, your constituency. I want to deal a little bit in terms of Foreign Affairs this morning, and there's been a lot of talk, especially the realignment of the overseas, offices going. There's some talk about that, especially the Washington D.C., the London, China, etc. Give us a little bit of insight about that. How is the realignment of these offices going?
Okay, good. So, by way of background, when we came into office, we recognized immediately that there were severe deficits in nearly all of the missions in terms of staffing. In the majority of them, there was only one diplomat, just a consul general or an ambassador. Maybe in one or two cases, a chargé d'affaires. So we recognized that to be able to maximize or the benefits from our presence in those areas that we have missions, we needed to beef up the staffing.
All right.
So we took the decision immediately that when we are going to make new appointments, we are going to ensure that in addition to the principal diplomat, the head of mission, there will be at least a consular officer, a consul, first secretary, or somebody of that stature to provide backup, because you don't want to spread one person
too far.
Yeah,
of course.
But we recognized also that there was a deficit in terms of the professionalization or professionalism of the ministry. The practice had been in the past, and that is not a practice that was unique to the administration that we replaced. Previous iterations of the NDC, I imagine, did the same. But we spoke about transformation, and if you're talking about transformation, you cannot continue to do the same thing simply because you met it there. So we took the decision to invite Grenadians at home and in the diaspora to express interest in joining the Foreign Service. And the response was overwhelming.
Yep.
We had well over 50 applicants, extremely well qualified academically and professionally. We had a couple of online sessions with them, with professional people with experience like Ms. Alice Thomas Roberts, with former Cabinet Secretary Miss Ruth Rouse, and so on. And they enthusiastically embraced the opportunity to be exposed to that level of training and insight.
All right.
And those are not going to be just one-off things, but continuous during the course of our administration. We then shortlisted people, and then they were interviewed. Those who were shortlisted were interviewed.
Okay.
But the training I spoke about is open to not only those who were interviewed or who eventually secured positions, but everyone who is interested, because what we want is to create a pool, a cadre of professionals on whom we can call.
Just in case someone needs to be replaced, they have that
exactly.
qualification, they have that training background already.
Right. So the traditional thing has been you look for a party stalwart. They may or may not have any diplomatic background, and you post them as an ambassador. And that is something that is done all over the world, and we have done some of it ourselves.
Yes.
I'm not going to pretend that we did not do that. But we recognize that there has to be continuity in government and in governance structures for the sustainability of our diplomacy and the continuity of our diplomatic thrust. Yep. So we have a couple of political appointees. We also looked within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and it's also now Trade and Export Development. And we looked at people with capacity, people who have performed well over the years. Some of them have had professional education and training in the field. And we looked at how and who we should promote, send abroad to get experience, even if not as an ambassador or high commissioner, but as a first secretary or some other position within the different missions. So it took us quite a while to complete the process of selection and posting, but we never felt hassled or hurried into rushing that process, because we felt that given the importance of foreign relations, it was necessary to ensure that you send people who are well prepared for the job to do it.
All right.
Yep. So we are almost complete in terms of our main missions. You spoke about Washington, D.C., our ambassador designate, Tali Francis, who will represent us to the U.S.,
yes,
as well as the Organization of American States. He has already received his agreement from the U.S. State Department. It's a question of getting his credentials from the King. Our ambassador in China is in place and has hit the ground running and is doing extremely well. Our ambassador in Cuba, in Havana, Mr. Glenn Noel, is just waiting to present credentials to President Diaz-Canel. In Venezuela, we have reappointed Ambassador Hassan Hadid. Dubai, we have a new Consul General in the person of Mr. Zia Rahman, who also received his instruments a couple of weeks ago, just about a week ago. So things are falling into place nicely. Our appointees, they are working, they are liaising with us, working very closely with home, and we're confident that the good work that they have started has already started to bear fruit and will continue to do so.
All right, interesting. Happy to know that. Another question I'd like to ask, talking in terms of foreign affairs, let's talk about that, the relationship with the UK, because we've been hearing some talk about, we've been already hearing, Grenada CBI program has been hailed as a model for the region. We've been hearing about that. There's also the fears of the visa restriction, similar to what, seen in Dominica. Tell us about it. What is our relationship with the UK and the concerns about Grenada CBI program?
We have excellent relationship with the United Kingdom. However, one thing we do not control is the policy of another country. We cannot tell Trinidad and Tobago what to do in terms of protection of their borders. They cannot tell us what to do either. And it's the same. We cannot tell the UK what to do. What we can do and what we do is be as transparent as possible share information with them, listen to their concerns, and that applies not only to the UK but also to the European Union and the United States and any other country that may have issues with our CBI program. So we collaborate closely with them. We have nothing to hide because we recognize that it's in our interest to allay their fears, to address whatever concerns they have. Because if someone is your friend, you wouldn't want to do anything that is injurious to them.
And that would some way destruct that friendship in any way at all.
Exactly, right? But that it boils down to what each individual country sees as necessary for protecting its borders, for safeguarding its national interests, and so on. So we continue to engage them, all of our traditional partners. We continue to take steps to tighten whatever loopholes there are in the CBI program. We know that the vetting is very, very rigorous. We share information with our colleagues in the OECS so that if, for example, someone is rejected in St. Kitts or in Dominica, then we know that we will automatically reject that person's application.
Okay.
So even within the OECS subgrouping, the 5 countries that have CBI programs, we are working together to try to ensure that we do not leave any stone unturned in our efforts to safeguard the integrity of the CBI program.
All right. Tell me, how is of course, lately we also been hearing with Canada not lifting the visa issue. We heard an explanation for that. But maybe you could just expand on it a wee bit for us this morning in terms of, I'm assuming that there are talks still ongoing in terms of having that visa restricted for Grenadians and so forth in terms of the latest. How is talks with Canada pertaining to that?
Yes. Well, first of all, as a party, as a political party, even when we were in opposition, we took every opportunity we had when engaging with officials from other countries to try to promote the national interest, and in cases where there are immigration barriers to Grenadians, to address those. And when we got into office, we now were in a better position to advocate. So we have continued to do so at every opportunity, at bilateral meetings and at different international fora where Canada and any of our traditional partners and friends are present. Again, it boils down to policy of the individual government. And as far as I'm aware, there is nothing that is different from what other countries who have been included in the Canadian visa waiver program. I don't think that we have done anything differently from any other country. So I'm not in a position to say, well, Canada has not included Grenada for reason A, B, or C. We are continuing to engage them to try to get answers and so on. But at the end of the day, it boils down.
So it still hasn't led back to no confirmed reason or reasons why we were not taken off the list?
That's right. The only thing we have been told is that it's a process and they are going to be reviewing it periodically.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting. We drew for another break. Let's take it and we come back to some more folks in the next couple of minutes. We do invite your calls. If you are listening or viewing, you do have a question that you would like to ask, of course, the minister, feel free to do so in the next segment coming up. 4352041. We take a break, folks. We coming right back. It's To The Point for today, Wednesday. Stay with us here on Classic Radio and GBN TV.
Campeche, new from Grenada Distillers Limited. At the NIS, our team proudly works to support the evolving needs of Grenadians. We have made some changes to our operations and want to keep you informed. Firstly, we are happy to introduce the new unemployment benefit. This benefit will provide an insured person with 50% of his or her former income in the case of sudden unemployment. To support this benefit and other benefits we offer, it was necessary to increase the contribution rate. The contribution rate will increase gradually each year until it reaches 16% in 2031. As always, the contribution will be split between you and your employer. The pensionable age will also increase from 60 to 65 years. This increase will also be gradually reaching age 65 in 2029. Pensioners will continue to be eligible for a pension from age 60, but will receive a reduced payment. The NIS recognizes that the prices of basic customer goods are increasing globally. Therefore, we are happy to also increase the weekly minimum pension payment by 25%. Finally, we have adjusted our survivors' benefit payment to a percentage of the age pension minimum. Widows, widowers, and dependent parents will receive 100% or $58 weekly, while children will receive 50% or $29 weekly of the deceased's pension. We are here to make the transition to these new changes as clear and simple as possible. If you have any questions on how these changes impact you and your family, please contact our new informational hotline at 440-6647 or visit www.nisgrenada.org. Thank you for allowing us to be your social security provider.
Get ready to catch all the action. The CPL returns August 16th to September 24th. Be watching.
Grenada's broadcast of Republic Bank CPL 2023 is made possible by Republic Bank. We're the one for you. The National Lotteries Authority, Grenlec, and Hard On Plus.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers. It's to the point for today is Wednesday, the 2nd day of August. Welcome back, Minister for Joseph Andel with me this morning. Minister, I have a question here that I sometimes follow the news around the world and listen to the statements that have been made. It's pertaining to Grenada had repaid that debt. You being a minister of foreign affairs and so forth. We have repaid that debt to Libya, and that debt dated back all the way back to the revolutionary period. Mm-hmm. You understand? The concern has been raised that there are several fractions in Libya at this time with the jostling for power. And how would you respond to the statement that would say that we paid the wrong fraction and Grenada will still find itself in a debt to Libya? Libya has government of national unity. Also, there's the national stability amongst others. Tell us about that and how is that process, and tell us how this if there's any truth to that statement.
Well,
in terms of we paying the wrong fraction.
We will only conduct official business with internationally recognized entities, UN recognized entities. And I think it just follows, it should follow from a common sense viewpoint that if a man just get up and say, I'm the Prime Minister of Grenada, and he has no authority, he has no international recognition and so on, I don't think anybody would do business with such an individual. So there is no fear of our engaging with so-called wrong parties regarding Libya or any other sovereign state.
All right. That answers, I guess that answers that. I want to talk about to you also. There's an issue that is circulating. We hear talk about that a lot in terms of transportation. Continues to be a major issue for people, especially in the St. Patrick's area. Yeah. And I'm you being minister, I guess you've been hearing about that. Especially late in the evening, around 7-8 p.m. You will see loads of people standing in the bus stop and standing in the keep, the keep left area. They're waiting, trying to get home. How do you plan to addressing the issue of transportation, especially on the West Coast? How do you plan on engaging that?
All right, good. Now, this is something that is very, very close to me, as you correctly said. And last year, one of the first groups that I engaged was the SATERS, or some of the executive members of the SATERS Bus Operators Association. And we had come to a tentative agreement whereby they would provide after hours and public holiday bus services. And that was supposed to have started.
Didn't follow through?
It fell through. I don't know if fall through is the right term, but it has been put on hold for a couple of reasons. The main one being that the operators who have agreed to provide that service. They are concerned that now the service is not available. Nobody is doing it. People are stranded, left to fend for themselves. And that as soon as they now start providing the service and others who are not interested in it before notice that it is doing well, they would want to jump in and So I have engaged the newly installed Transportation Commission, not as a whole, but I've had a conversation with the chairman of that commission, to a couple of conversations with that, with a view to trying to find some form of redress, some form of balance. Because considering that we live in a free enterprise society, you will have to find a mechanism that would allow those who are willing to provide the service from the beginning to continue to do so without the threat of others jumping in, but also balancing the rights of others to participate. But I think that there are ways that this thing can be addressed, because even though, for example, let us take taxis. Any and anybody does not get a license to run a taxi.
So true.
And even if you get a license, for example, to operate a shop that sells alcohol, that there are restrictions in terms of the opening hours and closing hours, in terms of who you can and cannot sell to, taking into account things like age and so on. So I believe that we have to continue the engagement between the National Bus Association, the SOTES bus operators, the Transportation Commission, and the business community too, so that we can come to a solution where everyone feels that they are protected, their interests are protected, and that the necessary service is provided. We are also, as government, looking at other ways to deal with the wider transportation issues in Grenada. We have a paradoxical situation here in that I believe that there are enough buses, private buses, that if properly organized and disciplined enough to set out schedules, to rotate shifts so that, not only one set of people get a good shifts all the time, that we can serve the entire island profitably for the operators, round the clock almost. If we can get to do that, you will see businesses that traditionally go slow or close down at a particular hour starting to flourish.
Yes.
It will spur more economic activity. Without a well-run public transportation system, your economy will not do as well as it can. So that is a very serious concern. It is one for me particularly, and one for the government. And one of the things that we are considering is also looking at encouraging younger people, especially the tech-savvy ones. We see how those ride-sharing companies, those who founded them, have become billionaires without necessarily owning a car. And our young people have to start becoming innovative, and even where they're not innovating, looking at what works in other places and look to see how they can apply it here. Of course, adapted to local conditions to make themselves part of the drivers of change.
Do you think that government have any plans of really engaging the various bus associations to see to alleviate those problems?
Yes, that is why we have created the Transportation Commission. And in fact, right now we're in the process of staffing it, because previously we had just one person. I think the previously headed the Transport Board was Assistant Commissioner Jesmond Prince. And as far as I'm aware, he had no staff, very little budget, if any. So we have taken steps to remedy that situation. So the Transportation Commission, which was recently formed, will be properly staffed and will be given a mandate to ensure needs of the country are handled in a way that the private owners don't feel threatened, and that the public, the general public, is well served.
As we on transportation, and there's a lot of course topical issues that I would like to ask you about. Talking about the update of the Modelia project. This is a main issue affecting especially the West Coast. You understand, what is the status of the project, and what is a completion date, if there's any, that you could share with me this morning?
Okay, off the top of my head, I cannot give you a completion date, but I know that work is ongoing. One of the problems was the stability of the land in that area there. So quite a lot of work has gone into it. First of all, I think we had to buy out some of the property owners in that area there so that the work could proceed. And that was arranged through dialogue with the owners. And as far as I'm aware, that the necessary compensation has been paid out to them.
All right.
But the biggest problem is the nature of the terrain there. There is water involved, and the soil there is very, very gravelly.
Okay.
So, not being an engineer, I don't want to put my foot in my mouth.
All right.
But
I just wanted an update because you know, as we on transportation, I just thought I drop in that question there.
Yeah. So a lot of work has to go into stabilizing the ground before the hardcore construction can proceed full steam. But the work is ongoing.
I want to jump back into your constituency once again. Any update on the Chinese houses that was built in your constituency? Several people have been questioning. Of course, are they ready? You know, we heard of a new process in terms of including Grenada Development Bank in order to obtain one. Any information on this I've been hearing?
Right. So I believe that the Ministry of Housing did give an update not too long ago. One of the things that held back the projects, the handing over, was the question of lack of cabinetry and other equipment and so on, and amenities inside the buildings, right? Lack of laundry facilities and so on. Because I think the concern was that we did not want to happen what has happened traditionally in these types of housing projects in many other countries, where you just hand them over and there are no controls, there are no ground rules, no base rules, and people just do what they want, and before you know it, it becomes
a pretty ghettoish kind of issue.
Yes, so that is one of the things that we're trying to avoid. So we're trying to make sure that as many of the amenities, sewage facilities, laundry facilities, recreational space where possible, that there be some sort of homeowners association to set up rules, so that, for example, you can't just get up any old time and feel to blast music and play it out loud, or you can't decide that you're going to open a little bar, things like that. So all of these are some of the things that have been delaying, if you want to use that word, the handing over of the units.
All right. Yeah. A question I also want to ask, because I seem to ask all the ministers that when I do have them on the show. What is your foresee vision for St. Patrick's West as being in the next 3-4 years to go? What is your foresee vision? I mean, you're going to becoming the representative for the constituency. I guess there's always been a vision of yours, what you would like to see it be at. What is it?
Good. I want to see St. Patrick become the Mecca of Grenada. I want to see a St. Patrick where everyone doesn't have to leave St. Patrick to migrate to other countries or to come down to St. George's to seek economic opportunities. We want to see culture. We have the tag of being the cultural capital of Grenada. I want to see culture have a physical home. Yeah. And we want to see opportunities provided for all the people of St. Patrick to realize their dreams and their goals.
All right. Interesting. Let's entertain some phone calls. Let's take our very first caller this morning. Caller, good morning and welcome. Let's grab that caller there. Caller, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. How are you doing, sir?
Not too bad at all. Go ahead with your question, please.
And good morning to Mr. Andel. How are you doing, sir?
Good morning. I'm fine, thank you. And you?
Yeah. Mr. Andel, you said it correct just a little while ago, that without a proper bus service in this country, our economy would not move forward at all. And let me just give you a little run with that. Your cousin gave me a story once. He said he went up in the gas station to get some gas in Mount Fenview. And he gave a young girl a ride. She came out in one church up there. And she was going to walk in town. So he gave her a ride reaching Sauters. On the way down, she told him, oh gosh, I will never reach in time. So he said, where are you going? She said she's going to go out to get the staff bus. So you think in the back of your mind, you know what, I can't drop you. I'm going to drop it on because it makes sense drop you. You won't get a ride on no bus. You have to carry all the way down to get the staff bus. So that's how difficult it is for somebody from the countryside to actually go to work in town. Be it there's a holiday or on a Sunday. And even during the week, to get back home from work is so difficult. So our government, our people, need to come up with some kind of mechanism. It's very important to get this country moving forward. Everybody's complaining about this thing. Bus stop work in the countryside around 6 or 7 o'clock. That's it. You never get a bus again. You have to walk from Grenville or walk from Sautels to go at your home where we're living. It's kind of difficult. We need to put something in place. And we cannot depend on them bus operators. Yeah, the government need to put something in place. And I believe that can happen. That will transform this country because people need to move. Just imagine you have a big show in Progress Park. Be the Magic or something going on there. And people from even River Sally can't even move to go to that show. So the patrons you see at this show, that even just quarter the people who want to go there. You know. The rest don't know how to go back home, so they wouldn't go. So I'm saying that bus service is very important for the countryside, if it's just for the countryside alone. But we need that service for our people. Have a nice day, brother.
Yes.
Thank you, caller.
Yes, I agree 100% with that caller. And in as much as government would prefer to stay away from operating businesses for reasons well established historically, I think that is an option that we may have to consider down the road. Because as I said before, we have enough buses here. It's a question now of the discipline and organization of the owners and operators of these private bus services. But if it gets to the point or it continues along the road where people can't move, then I believe that we will have to make some form of public intervention to help solve that problem. Just yesterday, in fact, 2 days ago, a young man from La Fortune in St. Patrick sent me a text. I know him very well. Very smart young guy. Mm-hmm. I will not say the name of the entity that he works at, but he works in the south of the island. And the salary is so small that it gets eaten up